because of some concerns that came out of an incident that happened in the north end of Columbus involving some Somali and other people, an altercation. There was a lot of misinformation. And I think that meeting was, those two meetings were very beneficial in that we clarified a lot of the misconceptions and so on. But through those meetings, we've got some concerns were raised. What are the police procedures and so on? So we're going to give a quick briefing on this. Everybody has an agenda and so on. And we're going to follow the agenda, and there's questions at the end. I'd like to introduce Ahmed Ali, a friend of mine. He is the liaison for the Sheriff's Office with the Somali community. He's been at the job several months now. Still getting his feet wet, but he and I are going to be the MCs of this, and we're going to keep everything on track. Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I think Fred touched upon mostly everything. Just our jobs right now is kind of making sure the meeting goes on track and we can share information with the community and also get information from the community or concerns shared with law enforcement.
So, I'd like to introduce Sheriff Dallas Baldwin. Been sheriff now for over a year.
Close to it.
Almost. Yeah. Seems a lot longer, doesn't it, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Sheriff, would like to say a few words?
Very few, and I think I think I know almost everybody in here from working with you or for you, or you would commit one time or another. Not a large turnout by a lot of the community groups. We're hoping they'll show up. But I think what's really important here is showing how we're willing to work together on these issues. We've had a couple of meetings in the Sheriff's Office with the Somali community, and we plan on doing more, but I think it's really important to show how we work together with Columbus. We're not, my viewpoint in the Sheriff's Office is we work together. We help everybody in the entire county out. We're not just our own little entity. And it's a lot different than in Columbus. And nothing wrong with it. It's just the Sheriff's Office is a different type of organization, and we're there to assist everybody, including Columbus. But I think by us all showing up here together, it shows our willingness to address community concerns, and that's what we're for. I mean, we work for the communities and the people out there, and we will do more. You know, this is, I don't want to say beginning, because you guys have done great work. We've, I go many years back, I think we had meetings, oh gosh, 15 years ago.
When you were an SRC?
Yeah, we did.
Right.
But, and we've learned a lot. You know, our approach is a lot different now than it was back then. We don't believe in preaching to people. We believe in talking and communicating and find out what the issues are, and then together work toward a common goal. So that's my spiel tonight. My pledge is we will work together and we'll do all we can to help out the communities. It's my pleasure to introduce Chief Mike Woods from the Columbus Police Department. We used to work together. Actually, he worked for me for a short time, so I will turn it over to Mike. Chief.
Sure. I think we were hoping for a little more turnout tonight. We are going to make a change, but just to kind of echo what the sheriff said, the reason we wanted to have this was after the incident in May, I made a promise to both groups that I met with that we would pull a meeting together and build off of that and be here and have some other resources to answer some other questions for you. So we've got some, one of our liaison officers, an officer from our gang unit, a couple folks from our Homeland Security department. We have a deputy that works in corrections, and we also have somebody from the city attorney's office. So we want to provide that information out there to you, so if you have a specific question or something that you want to learn a little bit more about, we wanted to give a presentation to each one of those things. But we also were hoping to get information from you. What is it that you want to learn from us, and what do you need from us? So from this meeting, we could go possibly to another meeting or other meetings where we could be more focused on providing you specific information about this topic. And between the Sheriff's Office and the Columbus Police, I think we could do that. I think our plan initially was to go down and have the presenters come up, but I think since there's just such a small group, what we'll do, kind of change it up a little bit, is I'm going to have them tell you where they work and what they do, and we'll kind of maybe spread out a little bit, and then just take 15, 20 minutes. If you have a question for them, go and ask them and talk to them about that. After that, we'll kind of reconvene, kind of wrap it up a little bit, and then if there's nothing more, we'll maybe set something up in the future. But I know everybody's time is valuable. Presenting to just a handful of you, I think it might be better to exchange just to do a little one-on-one. So any other questions from me? Brent, go ahead. Yeah, no, just your fine.
Traffic's what it is.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brett Law. I've been with the division about 27 years, and I've taken over. Underneath that is the counterterrorism unit, and I also have the mayor's protection. We do a lot of VIP stuff, and we are. We're fully staffed. We got 4 detectives. I've got a sergeant. I've got a temporary person up there with me right now. I've got 2 folks assigned to the JTTF task force, and we stay busy. But we take calls 24 hours a day in my unit, and actually we're all pretty dedicated. The phone system that we have, if you call us from 9 to 5, somebody answers the phone. After that, it gets forwarded to my phone. So I answer it at 2 in the morning. If somebody calls, then I make sure that I'm there to answer that phone for everybody. Today, I was going to speak about what happens when you call the police. You pick up that phone, and how we get started with the basically the legal process, depending on what you're calling in. So if you want to come around, talk to me a little bit later about that, what happens. Well, I was going to tell you a little bit the difference between a criminal violation, civil violation, an on-view arrest versus something an officer didn't see, and how we classify things as a crime, starting out with a minor misdemeanor all the way up to an aggravated felony. And so I was going to tell you that graduation process. So I look forward to talking to you if you want to come around and talk to me. And I will hand it over to Deputy Ahmad. Yep, that's it.
Mr. Creek. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for close to 3 years come March. Right now, I actually work at the Jackson Pike facilities on 2460 Jackson Pike. That's one of our 2 facilities. We have another facility downtown. I actually be working there starting next week, so I'll be over there switching to 3rd shift. Like I was going to talk about today was the corrections process. What happens after you get arrested? So once you get arrested, they either send you to the main jail for your mail, or Jackson Pike, which is the bigger facility, but that's where the FEMA intake's at. So if you guys want to come around and talk about, I'll talk a little bit more in depth about the correction process if you guys just come to me. So, Jeff, I'm sorry.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Furby. I'm an assistant city attorney for the city of Columbus. I'm assigned as in-house counsel for the Columbus Division of Police, which means I basically give them legal advice on a daily basis. I work for City Attorney Rick Pfeiffer. I don't work for the police. I'm in their building, I give them advice, but I don't work for them. That's so I can give them objective legal advice. To put it bluntly, they can't fire me if they don't like what I say. Okay, that's why how my role works. I've been in this role for about 14 years. Before that, I represented city employees in lawsuits, and before that, I was a prosecuting attorney. So I'm kind of familiar with every end of this process. I'm here today to talk about legal processes, legal issues for officers at street level. Why do they arrest sometimes? Why do they not arrest? When can they take people to jail? When can they charge? So I can talk to you about those processes today if you want to talk to me. Thanks.
I work in the Internet Crime Against Children's Task Force with Franklin County Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office now for 11 years. I talk, you guys can come see me, we talk about exploiting children online, child pornography, and we talk about some apps that are on children's cell phones now that are more sexting apps, where children are trading pictures back and forth, and we can talk about that and what to do and how to do things. So that's what I will be talking about.
I'm a detective with Columbus Police Department's Criminal Intelligence Unit, also known as the Gang Unit. We patrol, or our duties are patrol south. So that being said, I want to give out a little information. First off, criminal gangs do exist here in Columbus, Ohio. A lot of people think they do not, but they do exist. With that, just a quick definition, the Ohio statute for participating in a criminal gang No person who actively participates in a criminal gang with knowledge that the criminal gang engages in or has engaged in a pattern of criminal gang activity shall purposely promote, further, or assist any criminal conduct as defined by this particular subdivision. I'm not going to go into all that, but it is a felony of the second degree. So part of what we do is we gather intelligence, we execute search warrants, either on cars, homes, or a warrant for an arrest for a specific person, and it's pretty much what we do. That being said, I think we're up to 101 homicides on the year so far. Probably as great as 25% of those homicides are done by criminal gangs. And so part of our duties, and specifically me, I'm like the tip of the spear for dealing with the Somali community. So I have a lot to learn about the Somali community. I talked to some of you guys about that in the meeting a couple weeks ago. But we're starting to see increased gang activity amongst Somali youth. So we're trying to stop that. Again, if you have any more questions, come to me afterwards, or we can discuss whatever questions you may have.
I'm Commander Joe Schrader. I've been on for about 30 years. I'm over the Special Services Bureau, which includes the intelligence units, CTU, criminal intelligence. CTU deals a lot with the vulnerability assessments. You see them out. Also a lot on the bomb runs. We get called out on major events. Carl works for me in criminal intelligence. Not only do they do the gangs, but we do all the domestic intelligence, which is the protests and labor disputes, anything like that. I also have SWAT, K9. I have all the specialty units, dive team, helicopters, and those type of units. What I was going to talk to you about tonight was we're working with the county trying to develop a form. It's where people can call in information or send in information, and we can follow up on that. And we're working with the county to see if we can get it in Somali and then have it be able to be translated into English so we can better help follow up on leads that people might be a little hesitant to call in usually. I was also just going to go over some of the things that when your son or daughter, you hear friends coming in and saying, hey, we're hearing so-and-so was involved in a crime. That would be information we would want to follow up on, and we would try to give you avenues to pass that information on. As far as see something, say something, I was going to focus most of it on more of the criminal side. You can focus it more on homeland security, but for today, I thought we were going to mostly try to focus on the violent crime that's happening here in the city with the Somali youth and some of the incidents maybe out in Wedgwood and like that. So we're working hard to try to get this form developed. I think it'll be a good tool, and then it could probably get pushed to me, and then I'll push it down to whichever unit needs to follow up on that. I'm going to leave a bunch of business cards. Please feel free to contact me. I can still, until we get this form up and running, I'll make sure that you get in touch with who you need to get in touch to so we can follow up.
Thanks, Joe. Before we split up into the different rooms, I'd like all our new American people to know who's here that hasn't spoken yet. So, Napoleon, you just want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, right. Hi, I'm Napoleon Bell. I'm also with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. I'm in the Community Response Bureau, heading up the Civilian Community Liaison Unit, which actually is a new bureau and a new unit under the direction of our sheriff. And matter of fact, I'm at is part of the Civilian Liaison Unit along with Ariel Link, who does our recruitment, and then myself as part of that liaison unit. We also have a deputy liaison unit too, and that's new. And so each quadrant of the city will have their own deputy to be a liaison. It's kind of reflective of what, as you might know, CPD has as far as 20 liaisons that are liaisons that they have. So that's what I did. One thing could we, before we break into groups, could it be possible that they might have some direct questions for everybody?
Yes. Yes.
Quickly, and we can slow it down and look a little more into it to see if there's other resolutions. So if you need anything from me, if you're from the west side and you want to talk to me about the west side, come up to me. Thank you.
Ryan, can you explain some of the brochures you brought?
Yeah,
please?
I brought a bunch of different brochures that kind of are guided on everything that everyone was gonna present. There's stuff on what we would like you to do if you're approached by a law enforcement officer. There's brochures on how to prosecute misdemeanors, how to prosecute felonies, domestic violence brochures, and it's all in the Somali language.
Take as many as you want, please. We don't want to cart them back. Also back, before we get to you, also back there are some 911, when to call 911 placards. We made these about 10 years ago in magnets, and these are not magnets, these are just heavy card stock. They're in 7 or 8 different languages. Take as many as you want for friends and family. Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
My name's Dave Yonker. I've been on the department 18 years. I work on 3 Day Midwatch. The reason I was brought here is because I run the special duty out in Wedgwood and have been dealing with the Somali gangs out there and trying to interlink, identify, and trying to stop what we're having. At one point, we had 8% of the homicides of the city in Wedgwood in a matter of 7 months. So that isn't everybody there. The crime that's happening are people coming from outside Wedgwood and being assaulted, shot, killed, all the above in Wedgwood. So it's not the community of Wedgwood, but it's the kids. And we're Carl and gang unit, we are establishing a line of the gang starting at the age of 10. I've got 2 shooters that are 13 years old. So we're ranging anywhere from 10 to 26 right now is the age range. And all they're doing is seeing the older kids. There's no more of the old school or coming from the old family. These are Americanized kids. They have adapted 100% to the gang lifestyle. So that's what I'm just here to kind of help with that. If there's any other things or if you've got questions, start to see graffiti and stuff like that, that's what we need to do.
I'm from
Very nice. Kathy?
my name is Asha, I'm also from Somalia.
Okay, this is Kathy Crandall, Director of Homeland Security and County.
You all already know me.
I'm Borhan, I'm from Somalia, and now we represent Sahib Community Support Center. We deal with mental health issues and addiction problems. So we have brochures we can give you out.
Very nice.
My name is Angela Lurivier, from CP Center.
Very nice. Sir?
My name is Abdullah Kash. I'm also with Sahib Center.
Ishmael Mohammed, I'm from Somalia.
Scott?
I'm Commander Scott Highland with Columbus Division of Police. I'm the West Side Patrol Commander, which includes the Wedgwood community.
Madam Warsame from Somali Outreach Program at the Bahrain.
I'm Sudarshan Sharma. I'm with the Buddhist Nepali community of Columbus. I work as executive director there. So I'm glad to be here.
I'm Laura Berger, I'm from ETSS, I'm the Director of Development there.
Person No, I'm the Director of SICO, Somali Islamic Centers of Ohio.
Ibrahim So, Commissioner of the Ohio New African Immigrants Commission.
My name is Kasi Adigari. I'm the head leader for the Buddhist Nepali community, and also recently Governor Kasich appointed me to the Asian American Pacific Islander Advisory Council.
Congratulations on that.
My name is Mona from Nepal.
My name is Nila Upreti. I'm from Buddhist Nepali community in Columbus.
Badi and Kashi, correct? There's one starting up next week. We can squeeze you in, right, Kathy?
We're at 60 now, we might as well.
Might as well. It's like a Citizens Academy graduate program with an emphasis on Homeland Security and volunteerism. So if you have any questions, Kathy or myself can answer those also. Now before we break into groups, we're going to take Napoleon's advice and see if there's any questions that we think should be asked that pertains to everybody here. Sir.
Okay. There are more police personnel than civilians. It's quite intimidating. I'm just kidding.
We would win if there was a football game.
I work with the Buddhist community, and in a daily basis, there are some folks who come to the community center talking about there was a vandalism case or whatever the case would be. That list can go on and on. First of all, I want to say thank you. This was a really important event. We got a very late sort of notice that this event is happening. I wish I could have reached to many more people. They would have come here with their grievances, with their things to share. So what we hear from the community folks is when they come with a complaint. For example, one gentleman was there today and was talking about somebody robbed his car, and took his cell phone at the gunpoint. And I say, well, you have to talk to the police. Did you complain to the police? They would say, police would come do nothing. This has been a general trend. I don't know what is the role of the police. I'm not from the police department, but I wish we could have more education, or there is some way we can do more to the community. I'm not saying people are losing their hope towards the law enforcement, but oftentimes when there is an issue, people would say, well, police would come, they will give you a small card, and they do nothing, they'll go. And what I should answer them is my question. What should I say? I don't know.
I don't want to sound like we don't care, but we rank our crimes. Violent crimes, crimes against persons are up here, and that's where we're going to focus the majority of our resources. And then we will work our way down. And when someone says my car was robbed, it's actually they were the victim of a theft. A robbery is a little different. So a theft of a cell phone or a theft out of a car, and I think I can speak for the sheriff's office as well as this, is going to be lower down in the priority of what we're trying to focus on. So what we do is we take a report. So when they are given a card, that is the report number. And that has the number on it that they can follow up on that report. If they ever developed somebody that says, I know that the child of this person broke into my car and stole that, we can refer them to the prosecutor's office, and maybe you can file charges at that point or seek restitution. But it really boils down to using our resources the best way that we can. And I won't say that report goes into a vacuum and never is looked at again. We have a unit called our zone investigators that get those misdemeanor thefts. And if they see a pattern, they'll work with maybe some plainclothes officers to try and address it. But it's just the fact of a reality that we have to focus on our violent crimes. As Detective Coleman mentioned, we have 101 homicides this year. That's a much higher number than we have had, I believe, at this time of the year, probably since the mid-90s. So what our focusing our resources on is that. It's not that we don't look at it, it's not that we don't care, we're not sympathetic, but we have to draw a line somewhere.
My follow-up question would be, how can I answer them in such a way that they don't feel that they are left alone on their own? At the same time, they have an appropriate answer and appropriate agency that I can refer them to. If this is the phone number or this is the person you need to talk to, they are trying to do a follow-up. And usually when there is an issue, they would come to the community. But I'm afraid that they may lose hope. That's my main concern.
And that's what I was going to speak about a little bit, is our arrest process and some of the things that the officer's allowed to do and not allowed to do as an American police officer. And one of those things is an on-view arrest. So if the chief, like he was saying, that somebody got something stolen from the car, and we asked the victim, do you know who did it? No. Well, then the solvability factor just went down. If we have no witnesses or things like that, so the card has a report number on it. And basically, if they find out who did it, they can either call the police back, or they can go to the prosecutor's office. There's a graduated steps. And so when the police officer's driving to that call, there's a few things going through that police officer's mind. Is this one of those minor misdemeanors down here, or is this one of those felonies up here? And the call taker should, when they call the police, they should tell the officer kind of what he's getting ready to get into. And so when the officer's pulling up, is he going to make an on-view arrest? Is the suspect still there? Or is it something that's not on view that they might, depending on what type of misdemeanor, what type of felony it might be, the police are forced to give that card and say go to the prosecutor's office because they have no powers of arrest in a certain situation. Depending on that situation, I can't sit here and what if the whole thing.
But I think to answer his question about the hope, tell them to please call, because what happens, let's say Laura gets her car broken into and she files a report, nothing's done because of what Brent and the chief just said. The next day, Hassan's car's broken into, boy, it's the same thing, looks like they used a rock or something, and so start to develop a pattern, and then it becomes a little bit easier, we start looking for patterns. Plus, if you don't report it, I hate to say it this way, like I said, I'm not an officer anymore. If you don't report it, it never happened. In other words, the police don't know about it, there's no official report, so we've been to meetings before, in my 40-some years, where somebody says, and the CLOs get this all the time, they go to a block watch meeting, we've had 47 break-ins, and you do the research, there's 3, because people don't report it. So you have to encourage them to report it, and then also, the more crime that's supposedly, this may not be true anymore, so if I'm wrong.
No, you're exactly right.
If we're having a rash of car break-ins in this area, when they go to redraw the districts, they might say, we need to put an extra cruiser in this area just because of these reported crimes.
Something that does occur on a weekly basis for us is we have a crime strategy meeting. And we have 5 analysts, and each patrol commander has an analyst assigned to them. And they are researching crimes that occur within that patrol zone. So Commander Highland's crime analyst will look, and what they will see, just what Fred mentioned, if we have 1 car break-in in a neighborhood, that's not going to set a red flag off for us. If we have 10 car break-ins in a neighborhood over a period of 4 or 5 days, they create what we call is a crime pattern advisory. That information is put together. It's what was stolen, what was it, what times did this occur, the days of the week, any suspect information, any suspicious person's reports that were called in. Someone said, I saw a white kid walking down the street right after my car got broken into. So they take all that information, create that report, and then that is shared with the commander and everybody on that patrol zone. So that's the focus that you could take back to someone is, if you don't file the report, we don't get that information, we don't develop that pattern, and then we can't put resources at it.
Sure. And they'll also look at, maybe Billy Bad Boy just got released from jail, and he's known to break in and steal cell phones. And a good patrol officer might say, I just saw Billy Bob, he must be out. And they'll probably concentrate on him.
Yeah, sure, Jim, something you want to...
You kind of said what I was going to say. A lot of times, a report's taken, and it may look like nobody did anything. The officer comes over, deputy comes over, nothing really occurs, you don't think, and they leave. But what you may not understand is that information is going into a crime analyst. They're getting all the information. There might have been 4 cars broken into in that parking lot, or maybe 20 in that whole area. More and more information has come from each report, and they're compiling that, and that information is going out to the crime meetings they're having on the zones. It's being sent out to the officers and deputies working the streets. So that information is vital. You just don't see that part of it, because all you're seeing is they come out, they take a report, they hand you the card, and they're gone. There's a lot of work that takes place after that, as far as the report being completed, being distributed out. So there is a lot being done. A lot of it's just simply communication. Maybe they're not telling you that. And again, we have our academies, our citizens academies, and we encourage.
Thanks for inviting us, Chief and Sheriff.
Good to see you.
So let's mix it with we have gentlemen, I have a list of couple hundred people that get ticked from only one guy. He has a motorcycle, and he parked his motorcycle on Cleveland Avenue. Some people told me they're going to close their own businesses. And even I live in Westerville. When I'm coming to work, I don't take the Cleveland Avenue. I go somewhere else because I'm expecting the guy sitting in that area. And I think that everybody knows in the Somali community. So really we would like to, that we were trying to go to city attorney or somewhere. But since you are here, police officers and the chief and everybody would like to share with you that information. It's an excessive ticket and...
What are the tickets for?
Traffic.
But more specific, speeding?
It's speeding. He's stopping the people.
So the citations are for speeding?
That's what he's saying, but the area is, he targeted where the Somali community has a business. So even some people told me that he gave the tickets to the front of their own businesses.
Okay. Well,
daycares or store.
Since that's one of those more specific things,
bring it up in the breakout.
Yeah, you and I can talk, and I'll take a peek at that.
Yeah, and most of those people, when they go to a court, actually they get dismissed. You know what I mean? That's what I found. So this is a huge issue that the community. So we don't want somebody to create a problem. That because we don't have a problem with the police department.
But
newly,
without knowing all the facts, I can't say yes or no to anything. But if somebody's speeding, they're gonna get a citation.
I agree with you, sir.
Okay,
But
so, I just,
Well, even-
well, so we'll talk that, well, you and I'll talk a little more about that.
We really like to get to the breakout session. We'll take one more. You got a question?
Thank you very much, first of all, and I think we need to increase events like this. I represent 6 Islamic centers, 6 mosques, and I'm the outreach director. Part of my job is just to meet the imams and the spiritual leaders of these mosques and ask them the concerns of their congregation.
Great.
One of the concerns that I have, and I respect Hassan's position, he is my senior, of course, he's privy to a lot of information that I'm not privy to, but some of their concerns is that they're complaining about the response of the police when Somalis become victim of the crime. I'm talking about the urgency, the resources spent in the investigation. And I've had a meeting with some of the attorneys that represent them. So I would urge our leaders, if they could really come up with a strategy, with a different strategy, if they could speed up the response, because all of you know, many people know that, we lost many young brothers, and the parents are still in shock, and they can't understand up to now how come, while there are many of these crimes took place in a broad daylight, and they would really like to see some more urgency as far as these cases are concerned. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. And again, thank you so much.
And I appreciate that, and I would ask that as you go back and you talk to people and they have information, that they come forward and share that information with us.
We always encourage that.
And that is not unique to the Somali community, to the New American community, to the Nepalese community, to any community. Where we have violent crime, often we have witnesses to those crimes and they don't share the information with us. Everything that a detective does, some of it's forensic, some of it is based upon a video, but a lot of what takes place is interviewing people that saw a crime happen. And we need that information to move forward to making an arrest. So, as Officer Yonker said, we've had some homicides in the Wedgwood neighborhood. And we are working those. Those are assigned to detectives, and they remain assigned in open cases. But we need information to help that detective move to making an arrest. We may have a little bit of information that says we think that this person is involved with it, but we don't have enough probable cause, which is a requirement through the court, to make that arrest. So we need all that information, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to meet today, was to ask you to go back and talk to your communities and say, if you have information about a crime, specifically about a violent crime, and you haven't shared that information, reach out to us and share that information. Call the sheriff's office if it occurred in their jurisdiction, or the Columbus Police, or one of the townships. Call the agency that you work around and get us that information. And that's how we can take action that you're speaking about. And we want to take action. There's nothing more than a police agency that wants to do is clear arrests for violent crimes. We don't want to have a violent city.
And if you're sure who not to call, Med's a great resource for the sheriff's office. CLO's a great resource. I know you. You can call me. You call me all the time. You call me all the
One thing you
time.
can also do, because I understand that there's also a hesitancy within the community to actually call the police, because of the thought that something might happen to them, or they don't want to, call the police. You can also call Crime Stoppers, right? You can also have them call Crime Stoppers, and that is totally anonymous. You don't even have to leave your name. They give you a number, and so that information, whatever little bit of information, that information is going to be given to the proper jurisdiction. And so that could be that bit of information that is needed to solve that crime. And then also, if it comes to an arrest to solve the crime, then the person who called can also receive up to $2,000 for doing that. So this is a way that you can let the law enforcement know of your tip and be totally anonymous. But that might be that piece of information that they need.
I want to piggyback something real quick that the Chief said there. Just to definitely reassure you that the homicide specifically in the Somali community, they're being looked at. I personally did some research or helping homicide investigate a double homicide that occurred in the Somali community several months ago. We're still actively and aggressively investigating. So it's not, you may not hear anything, but believe me, we're still working towards some closure. So
One more comment over here from Laura, and then we're going to, Laura, final comment, and then we'll break into sessions.
Okay, and I hope you all know my comment, and this is a no-brainer, but this guy over here is a celebrity. He is as important as a Columbus Crew soccer player in this community. And I just want you to understand the weight, the gem that you have as this deputy is from Somalia. And I would love to see him elevated to a point. I know he has to do his job and be trained, but I have 8 after-school programs all around the city, and what the kids tell me what they want to be when they grow up is a teacher, a policeman, or a soccer player. So he is on that level.
He plays soccer. One more comment. She had her hand up, I couldn't see it. Then honestly, God, we have to break because of time constraints. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I just want to, I don't think, I have so many questions, but I don't think we have time to answer for those questions. But I just wanted to share, we created community, and all the resources that you guys have is very important for the community. So I would love to invite you to our show in a group or individually. So all the information and resources we can share with the community. And I think as soon as we have good relationship with the community, everything will come together. Thank you all.
Good. I'm sure that they'd be more welcome to do that. So let's break up. I lost my agenda. Sheriff Baldwin.
No, some really good conversations on the break, and what we talked about was, a lot of the issues that come up are the issues that come up time and time again in the same meetings, which on one hand says maybe we don't do a good job of responding, but on the other hand, it gives us a really good starting point, issues to focus on. So to me, the secret to being successful is continue to meet and be honest with each other, and I think that's how we progress. Chief?
Yeah, we don't want this to be the only meeting that we have. So what I promised to you when I met with you earlier this year was we would have a follow-up one. So I wanted to do that, but I also don't want this to be, okay, we've had this meeting and now that's the end of it. So call us. And if there's something specific that you want to know about, something you want to learn about, something that we need to do, let us know that. 2 quick things, a couple things that I've heard about. The sheriff's office is beating our butt. They have a rock star. We would like to have a rock star also. I'll talk to you about recruiting. It'll talk to you about helping people prepare for the test. And we'd like to have a Somali police officer as well. One other program that I'll throw out there real quick is our Police Explorers. And that's a program where someone that's maybe, 18, 17, or 16, 17, 18 years old, and they're interested about police work. It's through the Boy Scouts of America. It's a program that teaches people about law enforcement and gets them involved. It gets them a uniform. It gets them used to being around us. And it puts them on a path that they could become the next deputy sheriff or the next Columbus police officer. So let us know. We'll be glad to come out. The liaison information will be great. So thank you very much for showing up tonight.
They could even be sheriff.
You could even be sheriff. I mean, look, Dallas got it.
You could have my job someday.
Just real quick, was there anything urgent that we need to talk about with the people that came up to anybody? Anything glaring? Okay. We'll do this again, okay? All right. You have all our contact numbers, right?
You have our contact, but I ask one thing, and it's not, help me to understand how we could get more folks here and maybe within the time frame that we kind of talked about, because a lot of our officers were pulling them off their jobs, and I wanted to get them here and get them interacting with you as soon as we possibly can. So if this was a bad time, if it needs to be earlier or later or something, let us know, because especially Carl works for me, Brent works for me, Joe works for me. I want them back out doing their jobs. So I just want to make sure that we are timely with our information and timely.
Okay. I do have one comment, and I hope all of you recognize I enjoy this. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy meeting. I've never met so many great people, and I've never had a bad meeting yet. So I look forward to meeting again many times.